What's up? What's up,
everybody? How we doing, guys? Thanks for coming in. Hey, bro, are we ever gonna get this right? Hey, you're talking over me again, bro.
Never. No.
Hey, you're talking over me again. We try this again? You gonna try this again? All right. Let's take a drink. Let's take a drink and let's try this over.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
I'm done first. Welcome everybody to the Poor Boys.
Yes, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Poor Boys. This is the Poor Boys March Madness Extravaganza. This is our first talk after the first round of March Madness is over. And let me tell you what, They don't call it March Madness for no reason. I mean, it's been absolutely insane all the way through the first round, and I'm just I'm very excited to see what pops up next round. So,
man alive.
Yeah, what do you guys think about what happened yesterday?
Down all arounds, man. It's
oh
been
man,
insane.
Some
But I do want to
upsets.
introduce my brother. I do want to introduce my brother Todd. So for those that don't know, this is my brother. So
yes,
kind of
welcome, Todd.
in with me because he's got brackets going and all that good stuff too. So
yes,
I figured if I put a bracket in y'all's tournament, might as well come on the show and talk about how bad it's looking right now.
Yeah, right. I'm right there with you. I do real quick want to thank everybody that did join the brackets with us. We really appreciate it. It was a great turnout this year.
Absolutely.
So just appreciate everybody that jumped on board to do this with us. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
I'm ready to win that trophy. I'm ready to win that trophy, man. Well, the first inaugural, I'm going to win. Like I said, my bracket says I'm going to win, and by God, I'm going to win.
See, that's why mine says number one bracket, bro. I mean, come on, like this is the number one bracket.
Hey, your number one bracket got busted like 5 games in the first round. So what are you talking about?
Oh, dude, I got screwed. Okay, I got screwed in the first round. Okay,
but before we get into it,
let's just jump right into it, man. Let's.
But before we get into it, we should say what's up to the chat real quick. Welcome everybody in. Do not want to neglect the chat.
Let's see here. Peppers in Kentucky Living. What is up, Jeremy? Thanks for coming in and hanging out, buddy. Always appreciate you popping in. King Pooba, Dustin, and the better half of White Family Farm is here. Courtney, thank you for coming in. Miss Kathy Bates, love you very much. Thank you for coming in, as always. Yes, thanks everybody for showing up and coming to hang out with us for a bit while we talk sports. So it's going to be an interesting show. Just like this, the bracket's been interesting. I'm not too happy. I was working yesterday and I'm listening to the radio, so I'm listening to all the games and they're bouncing around. So I was listening to Westwood 1, and so they were kind of bouncing around all the games, and I'm sitting there, I'm listening to the games, but I've got my bracket up on my phone in the corner mounted so I can see what's going on. All day long, man, if you could hear me in my van, there was expletive after expletive after expletive because every game that I thought was going to go the way I thought it was going to go just fell apart, man. It was not fun at all.
Yeah, I mean, some games, like you said, there's a lot of games that did fall apart, but some of the games were kind of expected wins.
Yes.
Yes. And that was good because a lot of people picked them. But I know with March Madness, a lot of people try to go for that big upset, and whether you got to hit that right one. And speaking of the upsets, there were 2 in the first round that absolutely just destroyed everybody because not too many people picked these two teams to win against the opponents that they were facing. So that was very interesting. And according to, as of yesterday, at the end of the first round, there's not one single perfect bracket in the ESPN bracket.
Nope. So they're all gone.
Before we dive into the ones that blew us up, let me ask, was there one that you picked correctly, maybe like an underdog that you nailed?
Hey, Chad, have him scoot a little closer because I can barely hear him.
Okay.
I was going to say, instead of talking about the ones that blew up our bracket, maybe touch on one that you nailed. Was there an underdog that maybe you
yes. Actually, I had well, see, and it depends on your definition of an underdog, because technically the definition of underdog is 5 seeds lower than the seed you're playing, more than 5 seeds lower. So if you're an 8-9 and you're a 9 and you beat the 8, that's not considered an upset because you're too close in the rankings. But I did UConn, New Mexico State. I actually picked New Mexico State to win that game, and they actually ended up winning by 7 points.
Yeah, I did too. I got that one. And then Notre Dame over Alabama, an 11-6.
I missed that one. I had Alabama beating them, and Notre Dame just showed up to play. They surprised the heck out of me coming into that game. They really did. They ended up beating Alabama 78-64. But I mean, I mean, if you look at the final score, it doesn't look like it was a very close game. But I mean, a lot of those points were scored closer to the end of the game, where it was kind of back and forth. But yeah, there was that one. Let's see if there was any other.
See, I got Michigan over Colorado State. That was 11-6 as well.
See, and I have Michigan. I had Michigan over Colorado State as well. So I did pick that one. Let's see who else. I picked Iowa State over LSU, and Iowa State. I picked LSU over Iowa State, and I lost that one because Iowa State actually impressed me that game, man. That was a very close game all the way to the end.
Yeah, and like the what was it? Creighton and
San Diego State.
San Diego State. That came down to the very last bit. I think I picked San Diego. I mean, because I got like 4 brackets going, so I'm not going to pull up all of them.
I picked San Diego State in that one, and that one was a close one. Creighton only beat them by 3 points, so I mean that came down to the wire, man.
Mm-hmm.
That was, like I said, that was a really good game. I say we just start at the top of the West. So we're just going to start at the top of the West with the number 16 seed, Gonzaga, Georgia State. I'll tell you what, in the first half of that game, Georgia State gave Gonzaga a run for their money. The first half of that game was absolutely phenomenal. They came out, they shut down Gonzaga. They had it really close at halftime, but then Gonzaga just came out after half and just showed the world that Gonzaga is Gonzaga. And they just took over the rest of the game and ended up just decimating them by almost 20 points. So
yeah, they just pulled away. It was just too much in the second half. They just pulled on them. But to your point, I mean, good for Georgia State coming out, making it a game in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia came out fighting, and I was actually at the game on Thursday, and they did the live look-ins, and whenever they looked in on Gonzaga, you could just see all that air from the stadium, just like everybody's starting to freak out because that game was so close, throughout the entire first half.
Yeah,
and then on the second half, they kept in the live look-ins as well, and it was they just ran off with it, and everybody kind of breathed a sigh of relief. But those live look-ins were starting to kind of make everybody panic a bit.
Yep.
That would have, if Georgia State would have won that, I believe there would have been 0 perfect bracket. Like, that would have blown it up. I would have been
at that point. Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't think anybody picked Georgia State to beat Gonzaga. Maybe somebody that goes to Georgia State, you know what I mean? Was hoping for their team to win, but I guarantee you that most people pick Gonzaga to at least get out of the first round. You know,
probably the parents of the Georgia State players pick Georgia State.
Exactly.
Well, see, and that's what I was saying is I think because after that, after the huge upset, and we'll talk about that in a bit. I checked brackets and stuff, and it was crazy. So we'll talk about that in a bit when we get down to the other brackets. But the next game in this bracket, we're just going to move straight down. So the Boise State Memphis game, 8-9. I think you guys both had Memphis in your brackets. I picked Boise State. They were coming off a good last game. They were playing strong, playing hard. That was a close game up until about the last 5 minutes. And then Memphis just kind of ran with it. They put up a few threes, got some points, got some turnovers late in the game. They kind of sealed that for Memphis. I mean, like I said, they played a phenomenal game.
Memphis had shut down defense. I mean, Memphis had to shut down defense that last few minutes and just didn't let Boise State, gain any momentum those last couple of minutes. I mean, and you have to look. Memphis's head coach is Anthony Hardaway, and he was a damn good defensive player in his own right. So
I actually read an article.
That's funny.
I read an article before, and they highlighted.
Courtney, we love you.
Yeah.
So Memphis was actually one of the hottest teams in the nation coming into the season.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They were. I mean, they came in off of a good win streak. Again, once we get further down, there's another team that was doing the same thing coming into the tournament. And there's been times that I've based my bracket off of that. I've watched the teams that are coming in hot. And to be honest with you, more often than not, those teams that are coming in like screaming hot flub the first round.
Yes,
I don't know how it works out, but it just does because they're on this hot streak. And then, I mean, going from your regular tournaments to the big dance it's a huge jump. I mean, it's like going from college to the pros almost. It's a huge change in atmosphere, and so it's a lot for some of these teams, especially the smaller schools.
Like you get the travel, because some of these guys, they played like a day or two up until they had to go play in the tournament. So they're like traveling around. They're trying to get everything all taken care of. I mean, and like you said, it is going. I mean, you're playing, conference guys and stuff like that, and then you go into the big dance and you're playing a team you've never played before. So you don't really have time to scout them and figure that team out. You're just kind of doing the best you can. And some of these teams don't prepare, or they take these smaller schools that are higher seed or lower seeds. They take them very lightly, and look what happens. And we'll talk about that in a minute, because I think there was a team that took another team a little bit too lightly, and look what happened.
Yep, there's actually been a couple of those. Matter of fact, the next game that we're going to talk about, number 5 seed UConn versus number 12 seed New Mexico State. I actually had New Mexico State winning this game. Their head coach is absolutely phenomenal. He's bounced around a couple of the smaller schools throughout the NCAA in the Mountain Conference, the Pac West, I believe. So he's a phenomenal coach. And that was a close game. I mean, it really was. It came down to 3 points. It came down to 7 points at the very end. It looks like, 7 points. You think, New Mexico State kind of had it the whole game. That's not.
But that's just some free throws at the very end to seal the deal, pretty much.
And again, a lot of that came from the being in that bonus, getting those fouls and being in that either 1-1 or those 2-shot bonuses at the end of the game. That can make or break a team, especially if you're out of timeouts. I mean, you run out of timeouts late, and now you're down to the foul game trying to get the clock stopped. Well, depending on who you're fouling, you could be sending a guy who's 85% from the free throw line, guaranteed almost to hit at least 1 out of 2 every single time. And that kind of limits the amount that your offense and defense are able to do on the opposite end.
Yeah.
So,
and that game was damn good as well. I think UConn overlooked New Mexico State, but like you said, to your point, New Mexico State came in playing pretty good ball, and I think they were well prepared with that coach.
I mean, UConn was making noise in the Big East, and then they show up and just absolutely fall on their face, and you're just like, what happened? Well, I mean, you go from you think you're coming from the Big East, you're playing a lot of really good talent there, and you overlook a team like New Mexico State, and they just came up and bit them in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, a lot of people count these small schools out. I mean, just because they're a smaller school and don't have the student body population to draw from to fill their roster doesn't mean that the talent they have is any worse than the other teams. You know what I mean? Yes, they have a smaller pool to pull from, but if you've got good talent in that small pool, it doesn't matter if you've got 10,000 or 1,000 people to draw from. If you've got good talent in that 1,000 people, you can put together a team that can take your team, at least into the second or third round.
You look at Stephen F. Austin a couple of years ago.
Shout out.
Small school. I mean, he's a Stephen F. Austin alum. And when they made the dance, nobody expected them to make any noise. And they got, out of the first round. They beat some big school or whatever. And they got beat by Notre Dame in the second round.
Beat Notre Dame.
They almost beat Notre Dame and got to the Sweet 16. That would have been something. But
only 2 teams in NCAA history have come in ranked 12 and gotten to the Elite 8. And that's as far as it's gone. The lowest seeded team to ever win the tournament is an 8 seed, is the lowest ranked to ever actually win the title. No team under a 12 seed has ever made it into the Elite 8. It's at 12 is the lowest seed that's ever made it into that part of the tournament. So I'm interested to see. We've got a few 12 seeds. We've got an
11 seed in Notre Dame.
We had 2 11 seeds. We've got 2 12 seeds, another 11 seed in Iowa State. There's some low seeded teams that are left. And I'm just saying, a lot of these teams, they could make a big, big ruckus through the rest of this tournament. Even winning another game against one of these teams, that's going to shake up the entire rest of the tournament
and build up confidence moving forward too with this smaller school.
Yep.
So Vermont and Arkansas. That was the next one.
So where are we at? Arkansas, Vermont. Now I'll tell you, I had Arkansas to win this game, but hats off to Vermont, man. They showed up to play.
They showed up and lost by 4. So obviously a very close game. And Arkansas was kind of one of those teams that everybody was kind of had in there, like going pretty far in their brackets. They were kind of like a sweetheart of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost got bounced in the first round.
They did. Yeah. They did. Like I said, hats off to Vermont. Very small school, showed up and, like I said, showed the world what they were capable of. And they held in there with Arkansas all the way to the end. The 4-point loss, again, that's coming down to fouls at the end. You know what I mean? You're not losing by that from points for the game. That's just at the very end trying to kind of hold on and get that one miracle play where they missed that and you get a 3-point and you come within 1. You know what I mean? And those happen, but Arkansas was able to hang in there and win by 4. But, man, like I said, there was some nail biters, man. There were some games where I'm sitting here going, these teams just underestimated their opponents.
Yeah.
To the point
they just came out, and like we were talking the other day, some of these teams are on a roll and they just come out, and the one flat game you have is the one game you don't want to have at that particular moment, because you could be playing well and you come in the tournament, you can either not be hitting your shots, you get in foul trouble, whatever the case may be, and that can cost you a first round bounce. And I think I see a couple of these teams, they probably had some of these issues, but it's a tournament. You never know what to expect. I mean, some of these big schools, smaller teams, whatever, just are hungry and they want it.
To your point, like you were saying, with this tournament, the next game we're going to talk about is the Alabama Notre Dame game. All right, and let me give you a little background on Notre Dame. I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but you were talking about not getting to prepare for the game. You don't get those scouting reports because you're not sure who you're going to play, so you don't get a lot of time to prep. Okay, Notre Dame, the day before they played Alabama, went into a double overtime win to make the tournament, basically, to actually get into that spot. And then they had to travel. They didn't get in until 7 o'clock in the morning and then had to play that afternoon. So they probably got like 2 hours of sleep before they had to start prepping for the game. And they came out and beat Alabama, number 4 seed, beat by an 11, 78-64.
78, and that wasn't even
dominance in that game.
Yeah, and that was not a small score. I mean, Notre Dame held their own against Bama. And I mean, I watched that game. I was like, because if you remember, Notre Dame was, I think, they weren't one of the first 4, I don't believe, but
no, those are 12 seeds.
They're all 12s, okay. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, Notre Dame did have that double overtime just to get into the tournament, and and travel, and you'd think they'd be dead tired and everything like that. And again, I think that's just a bunch of kids eager and hungry and just went out there and just.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like you say, with the pros, you've got time to prepare. You've got time to do these things. With NCAA, what you see a lot of times happening is those halftime adjustments make the game. Those halftime adjustments of going back and looking at, okay, look, they're playing zone when we come out with these players. They're playing, they're playing man-to-man when we have, our point guard and our forwards all out there. You know what I mean? So depending on what formation you're putting out, the defense is responding. So when you go to halftime, your guys upstairs are just running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to put all this stuff together to get the coaches the information they need to then change their game plan for the second half. So hats off to the coaches in the NCAA because they're making adjustments all game long.
I think a lot of times it's just show up and play. I mean, to your point about Notre Dame, like they got in so late, really don't have time to prepare. So it's like as soon as you take that first half, it's just show up and play and just hope that you hit your shots. And then we start making adjustments in the second half, and that's whenever we start to see changes.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dustin, for the kind words, man. We're really hoping it takes off too. So thank you,
I appreciate it. We're having a lot of fun doing this, man. So we're just we're just gonna keep doing it and keep doing it. Yeah. So that was the Notre Dame Alabama game. Again, they won 78-64 over Alabama, number 6. So that's the second 11 seed that's made it into the 32.
And I don't know too many people who had Notre Dame winning that game.
I did.
Except for this guy.
I did.
But and I'll mention a stat now, just because obviously we'll talk about why here in a minute. But typically a bracket will go at least 2 rounds, maybe 3 before there's no perfect brackets anymore. Well, the perfect brackets were actually gone in the first round. They didn't even make it into the second round. Still perfect. So, and we'll talk about why here in a minute, but that's just mind-blowing about
millions and millions of brackets.
I mean, how this tournament has gone so far. It's been insane.
All right. So the next game in the West was number 14, Montana State at Texas Tech. Texas Tech just dominated this game. Montana State just couldn't keep up with them. Texas Tech is just too big. They've got a lot of big guys down underneath. They couldn't get the box outs and the rebounds they needed. They weren't getting very many turnovers against Texas Tech. And like I said, Texas Tech, once they get on a roll, just get out of their way. I mean, they're a good
on them. I mean, they put up 97 on them.
97 points. You almost crack 100. That's a lot in a college basketball game.
Yeah.
Yep. It really is. So Texas Tech did end up, like I said, just walking all over Montana State, 97-62. Michigan State, Davidson. This was a really close game.
That was a good game last night.
This came down again to the last few seconds of the game. This was back and forth. There was, they were already into double bonus, so they were getting that 2 shots on the foul. So it came down to 1 point. Michigan State, number 7, over Davidson, number 10, beat them 74-73.
Yeah, that came down to free throws and then a defensive stop by Michigan State to seal that victory.
Yep.
But, I mean, Davidson played Michigan State very tough. And coming into the tournament, they were saying Michigan State was poised to make a big run. They had a couple injured players, out, and that, after they played last night. But they're saying that Michigan State has a team to make a good run, which – seeing them play last night, I can somewhat see it, but not, not too deep into the tournament.
Funny note, if you're a fan of NBA, Draymond Green went to Michigan State, Steph Curry went to Davidson, and so they had a little back and forth yesterday. I even saw a little video of Draymond talking smack to Steph. So that was pretty good.
You gotta love college rivalries, man. You gotta love them.
Oh, heck yeah, that go into the professional ranks. I mean, there's always going to be those rivalries, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, whatever. There's always going to be those in-team rivalries. It's pretty cool.
Yep. All right, so the last game in the West, Duke CS Fullerton. That was, nobody saw Fullerton coming in and beating Duke. I'm sorry, but there's not very many low-ranked teams that can come in and knock Duke off in the first round. So again, that game, Duke ended up winning 78-61. So Duke will play Michigan State. So that's the next game in that division.
Legendary coach.
Yeah, there. Coach K and Coach Izzo.
It's gonna be a great game, man. It really will. It really will.
Wouldn't that have been heartbreaking if Duke lost in the first round of Coach K's last year?
Oh yeah,
just like North Carolina beat them.
I don't think that the guys would have let that happen. They played too hard to get knocked out the first round like that. All right, so on to the West. The number 1 versus number 6.
I thought we just did the West.
The East. Sorry, on to the East. You are right. On to the East. Number 1 versus number 16, Baylor over Norfolk State. No surprise there. Yeah, no surprise there. Baylor absolutely walked all over them, 85-49.
I mean that game was nothing even at halftime, because that's one of the games that I was at, and there was a lot of Baylor fans there because it was in Fort Worth, which is not that far from Waco. It was primarily Bears fans, and even a little bit after halftime, you could see them all starting to say, "Okay, we're getting out of here." Yep. And it was funny because you could buy the tickets for 2 games, the first session and the second session. Well, most of the Baylor fans bought the first session, and once that game was over, the stadium kind of everybody just left. I was like, "No one's here to watch North Carolina but me." Okay,
So, and I'll tell you right now, in the East, there was only a couple games that were even close. All right, the East, there was a lot of blowouts in the East. Okay.
Yeah.
Next game, number 8, North Carolina at Marquette. Matter of fact, my brother Chad was actually at that game, watched that game live. I got some videos. I was very jelly all day long. I'm not going to lie. But I got some cool videos from it. North Carolina absolutely destroyed Marquette, 95-63. I don't even think Marquette had a chance in this game, to be honest with you.
I will say, watching Marquette play, they were ranked way too high of what they should. They should have been maybe 11 or 12. Because they were not as good as a 9 seed. I was expecting an 8 versus 9, and Marquette just came out and was just flat.
But see, and a lot of times too, I'm not used to seeing North Carolina that low in the rankings. For them coming in an 8, they're usually, top 5, if not top 4, coming into this tournament. So there was a lot of people talking about how North Carolina was struggling. They came off their last win. It was a win, but it was a tough one. So a lot of people were talking about they weren't sure how well they were going to perform in the tournament, but they showed up and just basically told Marquette to go home. They just absolutely walked all over them.
And North Carolina's a center, his name is Manic. Went off for 28 points. He had like 11 rebounds. Went off for a double-double. And it was funny during the game. That's all you heard. Manic. Like, he was just draining buckets.
Dude, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. So that was an absolute blowout. The next game in that division, number 5 St. Mary's at number 12 Indiana. I was very surprised at Indiana in this game. Indiana's got a good ball club. They always have. They always show up to play and at least make it close.
And Hoosiers are always a good team.
Exactly. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if they were having an off day. I don't know if the travel got to them. I don't know what happened, but St. Mary's came in 82-53, just took it to the house on Indiana and sent them packing.
I must have been sleeping on St. Mary's because I looked at that game and I was like, Indiana, that's a big-time school, Big Ten. I know that they had a pretty decent year. I think St. Mary's is from out west somewhere. And I was like, ooh, it's a little school. It's a 5 seed. So I kind of slept on them and I picked Indiana, and that was my mistake.
They came in and like I said, St. Mary's played very, very good ball that day for sure. So
You're making another deal?
Yeah, I mean, I picked St. Mary's in one of my brackets. I think that was just one of those, I said, hey, it was just kind of on a whim guess because, I mean, in most of my brackets, I did pick Indiana just because of what you just said. Indiana's always got that tough as nails team. They've always got that, they always, at least get past the first round for the most part. And they laid a fat goose egg. I mean, blew me away that they played so poorly.
They did. I mean, like I said, I had St. Mary's over Indiana in that game just because I kind of knew what St. Mary's was coming off of. They had a pretty hot season. Again, like I said, I make a lot of my picks opposite of that. But with St. Mary's, I actually went with their hot streak, and it kind of ended up paying off in the end for that win there for me on my bracket. The next game in that bracket was one of the closest games in the East, and that was number 12 seed Akron at number 4 seed UCLA. I actually had Akron winning this game, and they actually showed up to play. They showed up. They showed the tournament and all the other teams that they're no joke. They only ended up losing by 4 points to a number 4 seed. So when you're a 12 seed, you're coming in from a small school going up against something like UCLA to only be down 4 points at the end of the game. That's a feat and a half for that school. So I'm good on for Akron. UCLA did pull the win off though.
And the reason why I went UCLA on this one is because I saw that championship game, and I think you and I were watching it, or I was watching it while you and I were talking. UCLA versus Arizona, and I was like, this is probably one of the better championship games that I've seen, and that's why I picked UCLA to go kind of far, just because I saw how well that they played that game. So
I knew nothing about Akron, so there was no way I could select him. I didn't know anything about him. I was like, all right, I know a little bit about UCLA, but Akron, I knew nothing. So I just went with UCLA, and Akron surprised the hell out of me. They played a lot better than I anticipated.
Yeah, they did. And, I mean, knowing kind of what I know about that school, I mean, I will say it was a surprise. They played as well as they did. I picked them to win. But at the same time, you've got a school in UCLA that they've been to the dance. All right. They've been there. They've done that. This is nothing new for that school program. Akron's been here a few times, but not near as many times as UCLA has been. So for them to show up and play like that was definitely fun to watch, man. That's why I love watching this tournament, because you never know. They always say in football, any given Sunday. Well, same thing applies to this tournament.
Has Akron changed their logo yet? Are they the Akron LeBrons yet?
The Akron LeBron.
Not yet. No, not yet.
No, not yet. Okay, working on it.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's move on to the next game in this division that actually kind of surprised me. I had Virginia Tech beating Texas in this game. Texas ended up winning by 8 points in the end. So it definitely, like I said, was a surprise to me, because I expected Virginia Tech to come in and play a little bit better basketball than they did. However, the Longhorns did end up pulling off that win, 81-73. So
I did take Texas. I think because they have a new coach this year, Chris Beard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's the old Texas Tech head coach.
He was the old Texas Tech head coach, and I know that come tournament time, Texas Tech was always a tough out. It was always a tough out. So I kind of just was leaning on the coaching in this one and said, all right, I think Texas is at least going to get past the first round. So I took Texas in that one.
And I'm a Longhorn fan, and I didn't even pick them to win. I picked Virginia Tech just because in the ACC tournament, Virginia Tech was just running rampant over teams.
Oh, they just destroyed folks.
And the fact that they come in here against Texas, which Texas has been kind of off and on all season. I was expecting them to kind of have that off game, and come to surprise, they came out and was ready to play. And like I said, I was going for the upset on that. I was really thinking Virginia Tech would have gotten the best of them.
Oh, you're getting called out, Chad.
Oh my God, no, Texas. So we'll never be quiet on that. No, I will not, Kathy. You know me so well.
Oh man. All right. So where were we? So then the next game in that division was number 3 Purdue, number 14 Yale. Again, another blowout. I thought Yale was going to do a little better than that. I did have Purdue winning that game, but Yale usually puts together a pretty good basketball team. So I expected them to be a little bit closer on the final score to Purdue, but Purdue just ran away with that one. So
yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of people had Purdue picked. I mean, I know some of the Ivy League schools, some of them are pretty decent, but I had really not heard much about Yale. And before I even picked this game, I read all the information, and just there was nothing really that stood out to me about Yale. So It would have really surprised me if Purdue would have lost this game, but obviously it did not happen. So we're not talking about it.
It did not. Purdue showed their dominance and just ran the floor with them.
Yeah.
So all right. So the next game in that division is another game that I picked wrong. I actually had San Francisco, number 10, beating number 7 Murray State.
I did too.
And this is the game that we were watching off air, and I was like, "Yep, I had Murray State," and I mean that went into overtime, and
it did. It was a good game, man. It came down to the wire. It really did. And then the last few minutes, Murray State was just able to put the cap on it. There was some fouling late. They put them in the line a few times, and they were able to get the points they needed and get the turnover late, and ended up pulling the win off against San Francisco. So that was a crazy game. But the next game in the East, okay, this is the biggest
deal breaker
of the tournament so far. Number 15 St. Peter's goes in and knocks off number 2 ranked Kentucky by a score of 85-79. What do you think about that, guys?
So again, I think this comes down to either not being prepared enough or a good team overlooking what they should not be overlooking. Because in the tournament, you're not supposed to overlook anybody. You're supposed to go in there, put your head down, and just do what you got to do. So it could be a combination, either just a flat game or being, UK just overlooking St. Pete or St. Peter's rather. But you saw the heart, you saw the fight, the grit of St. Peter's, and they're going to take on Murray State, and that's going to be a close game because I've done research on Murray State. I've heard them talk about them on ESPN about how they're predicting Murray State to kind of go pretty deep. I mean, I didn't predict them to go too far, but you're going to get 2 unknown schools, Murray State and St. Peter's, go against each other. Like I said, that grit for St. Peter's was.
Oh, does anybody even know where St. Peter's is located? Like, where exactly is St. Peter's University? I've never even heard of them until yesterday.
I have not heard of them either.
They come in.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that nobody – St. Peter – I mean, come on. Nobody's heard of this school, okay? Do you want to know?
Right.
I believe – and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the student body population of St. Peter's is like 2,600 people. That's it. And they went against number 2 Kentucky – who, I mean, they may have 100,000 students. Who knows how big their campus is? They got a huge campus. And to have them come in and not just beat Kentucky, but beat Kentucky by 6 points.
In overtime.
That wasn't a 2-point deficit. They came in at the end and held on and shocked the world with that win.
And that's when they said that there were over – 70 million brackets or something like
17.
that.
There was 17.5 million brackets that were submitted to ESPN. After St. Peter's beat Kentucky, there was only 734 brackets left that were perfect.
Yeah.
So that's like basically saying that 17 million brackets just got thrown out the window, basically.
Like, I don't think a 16 has ever beat a 1, right? A 16 seed has never beaten a 1 seed.
That's a good question. I'm actually going to Google that right now. I'm not sure.
But to have a 15 seed beat a 2 is almost got to be damn near just as improbable for that to happen.
Well, I know in the first round a couple years ago, I think it was Virginia Tech or something like that got beat by a first four in, and Virginia Tech was is it Virginia Tech or one of those Virginia schools, and they got beat by a first four in, and everybody
in 2018,
Kathy, St. Peter, St. Mary's brother. Jeez, get us.
So the Retrievers defeated the Cavaliers. So UMBC beat Virginia.
It was
Virginia,
yeah.
UMBC beat Virginia 75-54.
In the first round, a 16-over-1.
The first time, becoming the first number 16 seed to ever defeat a number 1 seed in the NCAA Division I basketball tournament. And that was 4 years ago.
Yeah, and that was the very first round, and that was the shocker because NCAA March Madness, they actually used some of the video clips of that game win because you just saw the intensity, or you saw the happiness and joy on the was it UAB or
UMBC?
UMBC. Like, their sideline was just erupted, and like they used some of those pictures and images because of the like pure joy of that game.
St. Peter is not St. Mary's. St. Peter's and St. Mary's are two different schools.
Yeah, so the University of Kentucky. That was
St. Mary's brother. Oh, I love you, Kathy. Oh, you're so much fun. St. Peter is St. Mary's brother.
So we're going to go over to the south here. There we go.
All right, so we're going to head over to the south. The first game in that one, again, was no surprise. Number 1, Arizona taking on number 16, Wright State. 17-point deficit, Arizona up 87-70 in that game.
Oh,
no surprise for me there. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't think that Wright State could hold with Arizona.
No. Before we jump to this real quick, wanted to ask, how far did you have Kentucky going? I had them in the Final Four.
Let's see. I had Kentucky in the Final Four.
Okay. Yep.
So that's Kentucky losing screwed my bracket all the way to the Final Four. Iowa losing screwed my bracket all the way to the Sweet 16 because I had Iowa going a lot further. So there's a bunch of games that kind of screwed my bracket up.
All right.
So where were we? Arizona, Wright State.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, Wright State was the first 4 in. So you didn't really expect them to do too much damage.
Right.
But Arizona again, I have them going pretty far just because again, that UCLA Arizona championship game it was a great game, and I think Arizona and UCLA do have a good chance of going pretty far into the tournament.
It's gonna be fun to watch the rest of this tournament, man. It really is. I mean, just with the craziness, it's already happened in the first round. It's gonna be fun to see what teams pull through to get into the Sweet 16. To be honest with you, because there's a lot of low seed teams left, so there's a lot of chance for some low seed teams to get in and make a name for themselves, man. I mean, that's what this tournament's all about. It really is. Absolutely. So you get these young teams that come in, they may get this, maybe their one shot. Their school may never get another NCAA bid again. This may be their one shot to prove that they can play with the big boys. So, I mean, it's a big deal for a lot of these small schools. A lot of the bigger schools, I mean, they're there every year. You know what I mean? So they're used to this. Those smaller schools, it's a huge deal to get there and
they got to win their tournament.
Done.
I mean, they got to win their tournament. Even if they win their tournament, that still doesn't even guarantee them an in. They've got to play in these play-in games. So when they're there, they're going to make the damn best of every minute that they got.
Yep. All right. So the next game in that division, in the South Division, number 8 Seton Hall versus number 9 TCU. I had TCU winning this. I thought Seton Hall was going to play better, but TCU just dominated the whole game. I don't think Seton Hall led at all in that game.
No. They held them to 42 points. So the final score was 69-42. So I mean that tells you that either one, Seton Hall had a really bad day, or TCU's defense is really, really that good. So
they've been talking here, about TCU, saying, they came into the Big 12 tournament, they're playing well, they got beat or whatever, but still, they got a great coach, a great team. They had a pretty good record, and they had a good conference record as well. And they're playing the likes of Oklahoma's, the Texas, the West Virginias, Oklahoma State's, all that. I mean, you don't see them in the tournament, but they are tough schools.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. All right. So the next game in the South, we've got number 5 Houston at number 12 UAB. Houston had no problem with UAB. I think early it was a close game, but the second half, again, like I talk about, the second half adjustments just shut down UAB, and Houston walked away with it. Final score 82 to 68 in that game there. The next game surprised a lot of people. Chattanooga showed up to play. A lot of people. I had Illinois winning this game, and I thought they were going to win this game by a comfortable margin. I was biting my fingernails at the end of this game because Chattanooga was up. They were ahead. I think it was like 21-7 at the beginning of the game. Chattanooga was up by like 14 points or something, and then Illinois came back to get it close. But it was, like I said, it was a huge game, almost a huge upset by Chattanooga. They ended up losing by a score of 54 to 53. So 1 point margin there.
Did I hear this correctly that Illinois only led for 20 seconds of this game?
Yep.
Which were the last 20 seconds?
The last 20 seconds of the game.
Yeah. Because I was watching the ticker last night and I kept seeing Chattanooga up. And I was like, man, this is not going to go good because I knew I had picked Illinois in all my brackets.
Yep.
And I guess it came down to free throws or a last second possession. And Illinois was able to squeak out that victory. But Chattanooga was up pretty much the entire game for the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was a scary game, man. Like I said, it really was. Like I said, I had Illinois, and I was biting my fingernails the whole way through that game because I thought Chattanooga was going to pull off the upset. So the next game in the South, we've got number 6, Colorado State, number 11, Michigan. I know I had Michigan winning this game. Michigan did end up beating Colorado State 75 to 63. Did you guys both have Michigan, or did you guys have?
Yeah, but I think I had Michigan.
Okay.
I had Michigan too. I had Michigan in all my brackets for sure.
Yeah, Michigan, like I said, they're you never count out the Wolverines. They're always a good team. They're always a pressure team, so they play better under pressure, especially in tournaments like this. So I always tend to lean towards Michigan, no matter who they're playing, to be honest with you, because they're just a solid team. They really are.
They're a good team, and I didn't know anything about Colorado State. Like, I had seen Michigan play a few times. I knew they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Colorado State is a 6 seed. I didn't see them going very far.
And I expected them to play better, and they didn't. They really didn't. So, I mean, like I said, I'm a Colorado State fan. I'm a Broncos fan, so a lot of my family grew up in Colorado. So, the Rams, they had a good season. The Rams did really well. You know what I mean? Like, they placed really high in the tournament, but Michigan just came in and outbodied them. They were bigger underneath. They got a lot more rebounds. So yeah, it was like I said, it was a crazy game all around. But Michigan ended up pulling that win off there.
And I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's tonight, or is it tonight or tomorrow? When's the 19th? Is that today or tomorrow?
Today.
Today's the 19th. So
yeah, you got Michigan and Tennessee that actually tip off here in just a little while. Yeah. That's going to be a doozy of a game. Like I said, I know we're not going in the second round, but that's going to be a good game.
Before we end today, I will touch on who's playing today and who's playing tomorrow. We're not going to talk about scores yet. We're not going to talk about who's gone on to the Sweet 16 yet, because we're going to do that another stream. Because we need to wait until all the games have been played today and tomorrow. So we will do another stream to go over the 32, the winners in the 32 team bracket on another stream. But I will touch on who's playing today and who's playing tomorrow, just so you kind of know who to keep an eye out for and who's still out there making ruckus throughout the because I'm already seeing that one of the games in the 32 is done.
Oh, the first one today.
Yeah, the first one was today, the North Carolina game, but yeah.
So, yeah, well, like I said, we'll touch on that a little later. And another stream, we'll take care of that one because we're going to do another stream for the 32, and we'll keep doing each one for all the brackets. So, all right. So, the next game in the South, you've got number 3 ranked Tennessee at number 14 Longwood. No surprise there. The Volunteers came in and just handled their business. They did what they needed to do. They ended up winning 88 to 56. I don't know of anybody that picked Longwood to beat Tennessee.
And Tennessee's come in on a hot hand as well. They had a good tournament, and even the games leading up to their championship tournament. They've been playing very well. So, I expect them to make a little bit of noise. I'm not going to say how far I have them going. You can probably see it on the screen. But,
okay. Hey, I'm going to have you. Okay, I'm going to have you go over the next 2 games in the South. I got to run to the bathroom, grab a beer real quick. So if you want to go over the Ohio State and the Villanova game, I'll be right back.
Cool. So the last 2 games in the South Division, you had Ohio State at Loyola. I can never say that word. Loyola of Chicago. Now I don't know about you, but I was watching that game very closely. Loyola came out and they were playing pretty well. I think Ohio State kind of took it over at the very end, but Loyola they came out firing. They had guns a-blazing. Ohio State's a big, tall team. Again, they had a few injuries coming into this tournament, and they were actually healthy. And they played yesterday, and I think they looked pretty good.
They did play good. So the final score of that one was 54-41 with Ohio State winning. To your point, Loyola, most teams, it seems like in the bracket, especially the smaller schools, they're so pumped up. They come out fired up. They start hitting their shots early on. It's tough to sustain, though. And over the long run, usually the big boys, the bigger schools will end up taking over. And I think that was kind of the case here. Ohio State just started to pull away from them in the second half and ended up winning fairly comfortably by 13 points.
Yep. Yeah. So, again, that game really wasn't much after the second half. But, yeah, Ohio State did beat Loyola Chicago 54-41. And then the last game in the South, you had Villanova versus number 2 Villanova versus number 10 or 15 Delaware.
This game, I'll tell you right now, I had Delaware beating Villanova. All right. And if you look back, if you look at the final score, Villanova destroyed them. Okay. 80-60. All right. Beat them by 20 points.
Yep.
But if you look back at halftime, they were down 2 at like a minute before halftime. Delaware was down 2. And then Villanova went on a run to go up by like 8, I believe, maybe 8 or 10 at halftime. And then Delaware just didn't show up in the second half.
Yeah. Yep. No, I totally agree with you. I have Villanova going pretty far, so I certainly did not have Delaware winning this one. Villanova is one of those teams, they always show up in March, it feels like. Yes. Even if they have a mediocre year, once tournament time rolls around, their coach is Jay Wright. The guy's a legend. He's unbelievable. Yeah. And, I expect Villanova to continue this and to probably go pretty far in this tournament.
Yeah, well, I had them losing the first round again. That's another reason why my bracket's kind of screwed. So, but it is what it is. I don't think I had them going any further than that. So I'm really kind of hoping that Ohio State takes it to the house and, And I do have Ohio State winning the next round. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, it's like in this tournament, you try to pick the right upsets, and that's the fun part of it because there's going to be some.
Yep.
You just try to pick that 1 or 2 that hit that people don't pick, and it helps you out. And again, you went for the gusto with Delaware over Nova. I only know one person that plays for Delaware, and that was what's that old player's Jameer Nelson's son, Jameer Nelson Jr. They were highlighting him before the game started, and he's their point guard, leading scorer. Villanova and Delaware, they're not separated by too many miles, and they're expecting that game to be a lot closer to what it was. They figured Delaware was going to come out guns a-blazing, and Nova just put it on them, beat them by 20.
Yep. All right. So the last division in the bracket, we're moving into, let's see here. Where are we at?
The Midwest.
We're in the Midwest.
Let me change my.
So in the Midwest, number 1 Kansas took on number 16 Texas Southern, mopped the floor with them 83-56. Again, no surprise there. I don't think anybody had that game picked any different. That game was, like I said, Kansas is a hard team to beat coming in as a number 16 seed. It's just it's going to be very difficult to knock them off in the first round. The next game, though, the San Diego State Brighton game. Again, this is one of those situations. San Diego State had just come off a 21-game winning streak, won their tournament, and got into and I'm thinking, all right, they're on their hot streak. They're going to come in. They're going to beat Crichton and move to the next round. And Crichton proved me wrong. Crichton was number 9. San Diego State was 8. They did end up only winning by 3 points. So that was a close game all the way down to the final buzzer.
And that game went into overtime as well. So it did take some extra time for Creighton to actually win that game. But that game was close the entire way, all the way through. So
it was.
I was feeling the same way you were. I was thinking San Diego State was hot. So I picked San Diego State to win this one. And Creighton obviously just shut us both up.
Yep. So the next 2 games, I'm kind of going to talk combined because I got these completely backwards. So the next game we'll talk about number 5 at number 12 Richmond. Okay, number 12 Richmond came in, surprised everybody again, beat the number 5 seed Iowa 67-63.
Did not see that coming at all.
No. Again, I don't think anybody did. That was a team that came in and they just showed their stuff in the first round, and that really kind of hurt my bracket because I had Iowa going all the way, I believe, to the Sweet 16. Nope, I had them going to the Final Four.
Oh, no, wow.
Yeah, so that totally, like I said, my bracket after the first round is done, bro. Like, there's nothing left that can save me, really.
That's 2 Final Four teams you have out now, huh?
Yep. 2 Final Four teams that I have out
and Iowa?
Yep. Kentucky and Iowa.
Well, the only thing I know about Richmond is their logo is awesome. I want a hat. They're called the Richmond Spiders, and their logo is a spider. I was like, I want that. That's all I know about them. I don't know nothing about their team. I was like, they have a cool logo. I want it. So,
and the next game, number 4 Providence at number 13 South Dakota State. I actually picked South Dakota State to knock off Providence. And that was a very close game until the end of the second quarter, and Providence just kind of ran away with it. Ended up beating South Dakota State 66-57.
Yeah, and
to move on to face Richmond. So who knows, man? If Richmond can pull off another upset, that's going to be interesting to see. That happens tonight, so we'll see what happens in that game.
I think Providence is rolling a hot hand as well.
Yeah.
All right, King Poopa, have a good one, sir. Good to see you, Dustin.
Hey, have a good one, Dustin. Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you.
I think Providence is, on a nice little run there. They looked good in their game that they played the other night. Again, they are playing Richmond. Could it be another upset? Possibly, but I just think Providence is just going to be a little bit too much for them. So,
I agree.
That's why they play the game.
Yep, I agree. All right, so next game, I also picked wrong. Number 6, LSU over Iowa State. I actually had LSU winning this game. Iowa State showed up to play and ended up beating LSU 59-54 at the final buzzer. So they will move on to the next round. Number 3, Wisconsin at number 14, Colgate. They actually only lost by 7 points. I had Wisconsin winning that game, but again, close game all the way through the game up until the second quarter, where Wisconsin kind of got a lead that the Colgate couldn't come back from.
And I was watching that game last night, and Colgate really surprised me because they're ranked number 2 in the nation on their 3-point percentage. They hit the most threes. They're number 2 in the nation. You think, okay, really, Colgate of all folks? Last night they were hitting bombs left and right, and you saw Wisconsin start to run them off that 3-point line. And once Wisconsin started doing that, Colgate had no answer because that's their bread and butter is behind the arc. So
Oh yeah, man, it was a fun game to watch. It really was. They started out really, really strong. I was again crossing my fingers and biting my fingernails, man. That's what I do every year when I watch this tournament because you never know what team's going to show up and surprise the crap out of you.
True.
The next game, number 7 USC versus number 10 Miami. I had Miami upsetting USC. They did just that, but I'll tell you what, again, right down to the final buzzer, final score 68-66, 2-point win for Miami over USC. Close game, man. Both those teams are phenomenal teams. They always show up to play in March. So you never know who's going to pull out of those games like that. But the Hurricanes ended up coming up on top of the Trojans by 2 points by the end of it.
And I was thinking USC was going to win that game. I know last year they knocked my Longhorns out. They had a bunch of returning players. I thought they would have come out looking a lot better than what they did. Granted, it was still only a 2-point loss, but I was really thinking that USC would have taken care of that game. So, very surprised. That was one of my big surprises. I mean, granted, the ranking, a 7 and a 10, you would think, okay, they're pretty close, but I thought USC was just way better than Miami and proved me wrong. So,
like I said, that was a close game all the way to the final buzzer, man. And it ended up being one of those games that you enjoy watching during the fucking tournament. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I don't mind watching a team blow another team out, sure, but I like those games that, these smaller ranked teams give these big guys a run for their money and show them, hey, look, just because we're a small school doesn't mean we can't play.
True.
Plain and simple.
True. The USC and Miami obviously are two massive schools.
Yes.
Massive schools. But, and like I said, that was a good game. I did watch a little bit of that game, and, it came down to the very, very last couple seconds. So
It did.
That game could have gone both ways.
Yep. So the last game of the bracket in the Midwest is number 2 Auburn taking on number 15 Jacksonville State. And Auburn shows what Auburn does every year. They came in, blew out Jacksonville State 80-63. They move on to the round of 32. So real quick, the round of 32 goes like this. Tonight, Gonzaga and Memphis play. New Mexico State and Arkansas. Notre Dame, Texas Tech, Michigan State at Duke. So Notre Dame and Texas Tech and Michigan State Duke are on Sunday.
Yep.
Baylor, North Carolina. That game played today. That game has finished.
North Carolina took care of that one.
Yep, and North Carolina did end up pulling the win off of Baylor, 93-86. So they will move on to the Sweet 16. St. Mary's at UCLA. I'm telling you what, right now, watch this game, guys. This game is going to be unbelievably close. I do not believe that the St. Mary's UCLA game is going to be a blowout one way or the other.
That comes on at 6:10 Central Time, so 7:10 Eastern, and 4:10 on the West Coast. But that's going to be a good game. UCLA and St. Mary's. If you saw St. Mary's and UCLA play their first game, that's going to be a doozy. And that is a 4-5 matchup, so that should be pretty fun to watch.
And then on Sunday, you've got number 6 Texas at number 3 Purdue. That should be a good game to watch. Tonight, we've got Murray State at St. Peter's. Watch this game, guys.
We'll see if St. Peter's can ride that momentum and be that Cinderella into the Sweet 16.
You know what? Honestly, after knocking Kentucky off, bro, I'm crossing my fingers for them, dude. I'm hoping that they pull it off. I'm hoping that they show these guys that coming from a school of 2,600 people, it doesn't mean a damn thing. You can still win a national title.
Yep.
So let's see what happens. The next game on Sunday is going to be number 1 Arizona at TCU. That should actually be a pretty good game too. Both of those teams are coming off hot wins. Should be interesting to see how that game plays out. Again, another game on Sunday. We've got number 5 Houston at number 4 Illinois.
That's going to be a doozy. Matchup. Keep an eye on Houston. They have Kelvin Sampson, the old Oklahoma head coach, who always had Oklahoma in the big dance going pretty far. And ever since Kelvin Sampson has taken over at Houston, they've always had a good team. And last year they got to the Sweet 16. So keep an eye on that. I mean, Illinois, the Fighting Illini, they got a good squad as well. And I'm not saying keep an eye on Houston just because they're a Texas team, but literally keep an eye on them. They've got a really good squad. I have a feeling they're going to make some good noise tonight or tomorrow.
Yep. So again, tonight we've got number 11 seed Michigan taking on the number 3 Tennessee Volunteers.
That's going to be a tough game to pick.
It is. I have Tennessee winning that game because I did actually pick those 2 games right. I do have Tennessee beating Michigan, but with Michigan coming off the win that they came off of, It's going to be a fight to the end, man. It's not going to be an easy win for either team. I can guarantee you that right now.
I said Michigan's playing well. Tennessee is playing well.
Yep.
I mean, that's going to be a lot. I mean, granted, it's going to be a lot closer of a game than what the seeds show on that.
Yep.
I think Michigan should have been a much lower or a much higher seed. I think they should have been in like a number. They're ranked number 11. I think they could have been a number 4 or 5 just based on the way that they've been playing. So never count Michigan out.
No. So the next game on Sunday is going to be number 7 Ohio State versus number 2 Villanova. Never count Ohio State out. Even though they're going up against number 2 Villanova, who's usually a pretty hot team. Never underestimate Ohio State. They will surprise you, so that should be a good game to watch. Number 1 Kansas versus Creighton is currently going on. It is 7 minutes and 23 seconds left in the second quarter. Kansas is up 66-59, so that'll be interesting to see how that game finishes out over there between Kansas and Creighton. Tonight, again, we have number 12 Richmond versus number 4 Providence. We touched on that a little bit. Should be interested to see how that game pulls out. Like you said, I think Providence, coming off the win they had, they're on a roll. But again, you never know. Richmond came in and upset number 5 Iowa, so that should be another interesting game to watch.
Yeah.
I
like watching Richmond play just because they're scrappy. I've watched them play a tournament game, and I've also watched them play the one game here, and they're just a scrappy young team. So I'm looking forward to that game.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting game. So the last 2 games on Sunday are going to be number 11 Iowa State versus number 3 Wisconsin. I do believe that I have and I had LSU, so that whole bracket's screwed up. So Iowa State, Wisconsin is on Sunday, and then the last game on Sunday is going to be number 10 Miami versus number 2 Auburn. I don't know if the Hurricanes can get past Auburn. They're just too good of a ball club right now. I just don't know if Miami's got what it takes to compete with them going into the next round. So
and that part of my bracket's messed up just on one of the brackets because I had USC going to Auburn and USC beating Auburn, whatever.
Yeah.
And so in that part of my brackets, that's just one of 4 that I have. So I mean, I have 3 others I'm not even looking at that I have no idea what's going on with them. So
right.
But yeah, that Miami Auburn game and the Iowa State Wisconsin game, because you have to think the Wisconsin they're playing that game in Milwaukee, which is about 90 miles from their school. So in that region, Wisconsin pretty much has all home court advantage because it's 90 miles away from where they go to school. So
right.
They had that extra motivation of it.
Their travel time's not as bad as most teams were.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Oh, man. Well, that goes over the entire first round. A couple of the games in the second round that are currently in progress right now. There are a few more games to play this evening as well as tomorrow. We will be setting up another stream to go over the winners of the 32, as well as the 16, the 8, the 4, all the way down to the championship game. We may end up even doing a live stream of a watch along for the championship game. Who knows? Yeah. But I think that's kind of what we're planning on doing, is doing a Poor Boys watch along for the title. So
I think that'll be I think that'll be fun, and we'll get people involved in it and all that good stuff. I think that'd be pretty fun.
And we will be doing later this evening. We will be doing a Poor Boys hangout. Just kind of a hangout stream. We're going to pull people up on panel, hang out, talk about whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports. We can talk about whatever. Like I said, our channel is not 100% sports based, but we do talk a lot about sports because we like sports. So
yeah, it is. And and if you're watching this back on the replay again, this like Jay said, this is definitely not all sports. This is going to be kind of just a smorgasbord of stuff. We're going to talk 3D printing. We're going to talk sports. We're going to talk movies. We're going to talk whiskey. We're going to talk beer. We're going to talk all kinds of different stuff. So it's just going to be just a hodgepodge of all different kinds of stuff. So.
Mix max smorgasbord of everything.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be back home for later on tonight when we do the stream. So I'll be back in my normal man cave.
And I do have a special guest that's going to come join us tonight. Mr. Billy is going to possibly come hang out with us for our late night stream tonight. So
heck yeah,
it should be fun to have him up on panel and hanging out. So.
And what time are you thinking about wanting to do that? Because I know also there is a ladies' night stream as well that I'll be kind of keeping an eye on, just kind of see all the beautiful ladies on panel. But
where's that at?
That is on the roundtable night. They're having ladies' night, so no guys on their panel. They're just going to have a bunch of ladies up there and
awesome
hanging out, doing all their good stuff. But I said I'm looking forward to our stream, having some people come up, breaking this channel open a little bit, because I know we've been kind of tiptoeing around it, but we need to kind of break it open a little bit.
Yep. And that's the plan for tonight. So, all right. Well, shoot, man, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We got through all the bracket stuff on this episode. We will, we will be airing more live streams as the tournament continues to keep everybody updated on what's going on, give you guys kind of our opinions and our thoughts about, future rounds and what's happened in the current rounds that's going on. So I do want to thank everybody that's come and hung out with us in chat today. You guys are awesome. You rock. Thanks for supporting the Poor Boys. We really appreciate it.
And I know
so
my
we're
brother.
Go ahead and cut the live off now, but we will see you later this evening. Probably around maybe 8 my time, 10 your time, something like that. We'll kind of figure it out. Just pay attention for the thumbnail, because it will be popping out there, so you guys can check it out before it actually goes live. So we'll get that set up here in the next couple hours. So appreciate everybody.
I know my brother says thank you. He had to go take care of kiddo duty, but I'm sure if he was here, he would say thanks for having me. Having him up here and all that good stuff. So.
Oh yeah, we'll have him up again for sure, man. This won't be the last time, I promise, man. That was fun having him up here talking sports and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. So.
Heck yeah.
So, all right, everybody, we love you. Thanks for supporting the Poor Boys, and we'll catch you on the next live stream. Take it easy, guys.
Later. Check us out tonight.